What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of No Jobbers Allowed, a show for top guys and top ladies only. So, been a big week in pro wrestling. We're gonna break down everything that happened on the WWE side, starting at Hell in a Cell and doing their weekly TV. AEW fleshed out their interim title picture as well as debuted a new title that's going to be coming soon. And just this morning, New Japan Pro Wrestling had Dominion 2022 from Osaka Joe Hall. All right, so let's start with WWE. Last Sunday, Hell in a Cell premium live event live from Chicago. Hell in a Cell ended up being a much better show than I expected it to be. Um, I actually had to go back and watch parts of it because I was watching the NBA Finals at the same time. But on paper, that really looked like a show that was going to be mediocre at best. Definitely had all the makings of being a throwaway pay per view in between two, I guess, bigger pay per views. We got Money in the Bank coming up 4th of July weekend, and that has become kind of the fifth major premium live event. I guess they're calling them now. Before they would have been the Big Five, that fifth pay per view that moved into that upper hierarchy with the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series in the WWE. So really solid card, above average. Definitely exceeded my expectations. Two best matches on the card, which I think were pretty evident when all of the matches were being announced. Definitely the Raw Women's Championship triple threat match: Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch versus and Asuka, and then Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins 3 inside Hell in a Cell. So um, just gonna give my brief opinion on those matches. Um, I personally thought that the Raw Women's Triple Threat match was the best match on the card. Um, Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, and Asuka. Clearly, those three women have great chemistry together. And then what's even more rare in a triple threat situation is that each individual woman has chemistry with the other woman. So there were not many dead spots or downtime in that match, whether it was Bianca and Asuka and Becky, or Asuka and Bianca, or whatever combination of the two that you had. Great match. Again, I thought it was the best match on the card. Right person won. Um, Too soon to even think about Bianca Belair potentially dropping the Raw Women's title. She deserves a lengthy, impactful run after what happened with her last SummerSlam and Becky Lynch. And I thought the match told a great story. You can see Bianca has become a little bit more wily, a little bit more seasoned as a champion this reign. Taking a page out of Becky Lynch's book, Becky Lynch hits the manhandle slam on Asuka, and Bianca pulls Becky out, covers Asuka, steals the pin. Definitely something that Becky would have done as the heel and the veteran. And so I think it's a great layer that WWE is adding to Bianca Belair's character, where it showed that her experiences have smartened her up some. So she's no longer that gullible champion that allowed Becky Lynch to kind of sucker her in, hit the one shot and then the manhandle slam and take her belt in 26 seconds. She's fought her way all the way back. She's got the Raw Women's title, and she's starting to learn a little bit more of the tools of the trade. Still a baby face, but not being afraid to get a little bit closer to the line, which in a triple threat match there were no rules anyways. But I like the story that match told. Now to the main event of the evening. Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins 3, inside Hell in a Cell. Um, this was a match that up until I think the Hell in a Cell event itself, fans didn't know if it was going to happen and what it was going to look like. And the big reason for that was because the reports came out last Saturday that Cody had partially torn his pec last Monday in a segment with Seth Rollins, and that on Saturday he completely tore it off the bone while doing some weight training. So, being a personal trainer, I know that a torn pec is a very painful, very debilitating injury. It pretty much shuts down whatever side of that torso that torn pec is on. Um, it's a long, arduous um, recovery process, the rehab, um, surgeries required for a complete tear, and just to give you a frame of reference, I believe, if my memory serves me correct, when John Cena made his surprise return as number 30 in the Royal Rumble, he was actually coming back from a torn pec. And Cena has a reputation for being one of the guys with the fastest recovery time, and not even he worked with his torn pec. We never saw the images of John Cena like we saw with Cody and would see with Cody going into that match. So, with anything pro wrestling, if you've been a fan long enough, you always have to ask the question, is it a work? Is the injury as bad as you're playing it up to be? Is it a partial tear that they're just playing up to be a complete tear to try to build some hype, build some suspense around the match? So, I know I was talking to several friends of mine in a couple of different wrestling groups that I'm in, and opinions were all over the board. So some people thought that the injury might not have been as bad. Some people thought that they may have advertised the match and then substituted Cody at the last minute. And some people thought that Cody would just try to work the match as best as he can and it would be quick. So Seth Rollins comes out first, and I think the biggest anticipation at the beginning of their match was if Cody would actually even be competing. Because we've seen situations where matches have been advertised before and it didn't end up happening because if you look on the bottom of the screen in that small print, card is always subject to change. So Cody's music hits, Cody comes out, and during his entrance, he only lifts one arm, okay? And so that's pretty telling, okay? And again, like I mentioned with what I know about torn pecs, it shuts down that one side. So him not lifting that arm in the air, okay? So maybe there's this torn pec, this completely torn pec. There's something to it. He gets in the ring, and you can, if you're looking closely, you can see the bruising up around the upper pec, the clavicle collarbone area, which is also consistent with a completely torn pec. That blood rushes from the chest all the way down your arm. Very gruesome injury. Another WWE wrestler who tore his pec completely off the bone was Triple H, and if you remember those images after he did it, the bruising went from the chest all the way down the arm. So at this point, bruises can be faked with makeup or anything like that. I mean, WWE is a billion-dollar entertainment company, but the fact that he couldn't lift his arm and he has the bruising, okay, at this point, I'm thinking this torn pec is really legit. And then Cody takes off his ring jacket, and it is one of the craziest, I'll just say, I won't say grotesque because we've seen things like Sid Vicious, but it is one of the most, shocking scenes that I've seen recently in wrestling that with a competitor who's going to be working a match, working through an injury where that bruising is pretty much down to his elbow. Bright purple, red, definitely is a complete torn pec with everything that I know about it. You can see the swelling and the deformity. the swelling in the arm from the fluid. You can see the deformity on the chest, the deep bruising. So I'm thinking there is no way that Cody Rhodes is going to work a match, let alone a Hell in a Cell match, with a completely torn pec, because he's pretty much going to be wrestling with one arm. And I'm sure, I don't know if it was a you know, an injection or some other kind of medication. I would be shocked if Cody took nothing for his pain. But the fact that Cody not only participated in that match, but was as effective as he was in that match is just, it's a testament to him. It's a testament to his greatness. Yes, I said Cody Rhodes' greatness, because I think if he's proven anything since he left WWE the first time, that there is greatness in him. He's a star. He's a superstar. He is a legit star in the pro wrestling business, and he's made himself into that. Like, he talks about going from undesirable to undeniable. That's Cody Rhodes. So a testament not only to his greatness, but to his toughness, his grit. I can't imagine what it felt like taking a weight belt to the side of your torso with a completely torn out pec. Great, legendary performance. This will go on and live in wrestling lore the same way Triple H being stuck in the walls of Jericho on top of the announce table on Raw when he completely tore his quadricep off the bone. But it was the major difference between those two situations is Triple H got injured in that match. So it was more so he was reacting, he did the spot, and he just managed to finish the match. Cody came into the match with a completely torn pec and with minimal to no use of one side of his body in wrestling. So couldn't lift his arm up past a certain height, probably had limited shoulder function. Obviously, with that kind of injury, you have to wonder about the upper body strength he had at all. And then just the sheer pain management it must have took for Cody to grit through that match. And so, Cody definitely gets a bunch of credit. But then also, this was also a testament to the greatness of Seth Rollins. I know he hasn't been seen or put in a position to be the guy in quite some time in WWE. But if you have a best wrestlers in the world list and Seth Rollins is not in that discussion, then you're having the wrong conversation. For Seth to be able to work with Cody, work around those limitations, and still deliver a great match while taking care of Cody. Because, again, Cody needed help. Cody was not going to go out there with somebody green or with an overly physical style and have the match that they had. I'm not sure if Cody's body would have been able to take it. But Rollins was able to work with Cody, carry that load a little bit more, put on a great match, and then even be good with taking the loss in that situation, which I think was the right call, right? If Cody is going away for surgery, which initially it was saying 6 to 9 months, on Raw they announced that it would be 9 months out. Of course, people come back ahead of schedule all the time. And then also on the opposite and more negative side of that, sometimes people can have setbacks. So I believe Cody winning was the right call because he needed to put a bow on this story with Seth Rollins. It's clear that this was kind of his initial feud to get back into WWE. They gave him a credible guy, future Hall of Famer, first ballot, in Seth Rollins to let him reestablish himself in WWE as a top guy, as a potential main eventer. And I believe he has his sights set after this on the WWE Undisputed World Heavyweight Championship. So he needed to blow off this feud with Seth. So He wins the feud 3-0. I don't think this was a 5-star match. I think people are making this match into a little bit more than what it was, um, because of what Cody's limitations and his injuries were. Again, if we're talking about Cody's toughness and his performance, that's 5-star. Coming into a match with a completely torn pec and working and taking the abuse and the bumps that he did, the weight belt across the chest, the kendo stick shots. Again, I'm sure he took something for the pain, but those shots couldn't feel good. And if you want to see the effect of it, I would invite you to go and look at the end of the match when, after Cody wins, you can just see that the bruising has changed color. So those blood vessels are getting even more broken, which I can't even imagine how Cody felt Monday morning. So I think it was a 5-star performance by Cody. I don't believe it was a 5-star match. I do believe it was the second best match on the card, which was my expectation going in. So what happens next with both guys? I think, well, Cody's going to be on the shelf for a while, and I think if he could somehow get himself back for the Royal Rumble, that pop would be tremendous, and then you would have a clear contender for that WrestleMania main event against whoever the champion will be, which will more than likely be Roman Reigns. For Seth Rollins, not really sure where Seth goes from here. He hasn't. He was in a short feud with Roman. They had that great match at the Royal Rumble. And his story then became trying to get a path to get him to WrestleMania, which ultimately led to him accepting the match with the mystery opponent who turned out being Cody. They had their trilogy, which was great. So I'm not really sure where Seth goes from here. Theory has the U.S. title, so I don't think it's going to be there. Rollins still has the greatest Money in the Bank briefcase cash in, so I think he'll definitely end up being in that match. Not sure if he wins it or not. So it's very unfortunate for Cody, but I'm glad that these two were able to put a bow on this feud, because now there's no unfinished business when Cody comes back. He can go right on to that next program, and it would be interesting if Rollins happens to be the champion at that point. If they would revisit this. Again, I don't see it. I think Roman's going to be the champion for God knows how long, especially if he's going to be on this new schedule that he's on. So that was my thoughts on Hell in a Cell. I'll get into AEW and New Japan a little bit later, but thank you for watching this portion on WWE and Hell in a Cell. Let me know what you guys think